I think a lot of us realize that setting goals is a very important part of achieving the things that we want in life, but a lot of times we'll set goals and kind of just forget about it, or we'll become so obsessed with the goal that we forget to enjoy the process, and sometimes we get frustrated or impatient because we're so fixated on the end result of the goal that sometimes we just end up dropping the goal completely. So the question is, how do we set goals that actually motivate and inspire us to take steps? In this video, we're going to explore some examples of effective and ineffective goals and how to think about setting the right types of goals so that you can actually achieve the things that you really want. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Jason, and on this channel we explore mental and physical strategies and tips to help you become better climbers and better athletes. I'm filming this video around the new year because this is around the time of the year that people start thinking about their goals, maybe revisiting some of their old New Year's resolutions to see if there are things that they want to bring back into this new year, or think about the things that they want for themselves in this new coming year. So if you happen to be watching this on New Year's, I wish you a happy new year. I hope this year brings you better luck than the past couple of years. You know, with all this stuff going on in the world. So this video is going to be broken down into two main parts. First part, we'll just kind of talk about some examples of goals that we commonly set and the issues with some of the most common goals that we think of. And then I'll share with you one goal that I've been revising over these past couple months that I think is going to lead to a much better outcome for the coming years. Let's just dive into it. So when we think about goals, we normally think of sort of the end result of that goal. So things like, you know, I want to get a six-pack, or I want to make $1 million this year, or for me, one of my biggest climbing goals for the past 2 years has been I want to climb my first V10. And another example is for this YouTube channel, it would be something like I want to get my first 100 subscribers that aren't just my friends. So we'll kind of label these and categorize these as outcome-based goals. So even though these goals may seem inspiring when you write them down, the issue with them is that there are no immediate specific actions that you can take when you look at these big goals. Like if I want to get a six-pack, sure, that's something that can be exciting and that sort of inspire you to take some action, but there's no specific actions, and when there's no specific action, it's easy to forget about. And when you have an outcome-based goal like that, there are things that are beyond your control. Like, you know, you can't just force your body to have a six-pack. You can do things that can increase the probability of you getting a six-pack, but ultimately there are things that are beyond your control, like your genetics, your environment, and that all affect what the final outcome is. So these goals kind of set you up for disappointment, especially if you have a time-bound goal, right? So oftentimes when we set these goals, we say, by the end of this year, I want to have a six-pack. And May comes around, June comes around, you start working out maybe a little bit, you see some results, but because you're not seeing a whole ton of progress towards that outcome, sometimes you could become demoralized, and this is kind of where people start to drop off from their goals. So outcome-based goals are still important because they act as sort of a North Star for you to aim all your actions at, and it gives you something to measure your progress against. But it's important that these are not the only goals that you have. And in fact, the best system to have is to have one of these outcome-based goals and supplement it with these process-oriented goals that I'm going to talk about. So process-oriented goals are specific goals that are actually completely within your control. So for example, some of my climbing goals, if my outcome-based goal is to climb a V10, some process-oriented goals underneath that could be something like sticking to a consistent workout schedule. You know, things like improving my focus and discipline when I am at the gym, making sure I get my full 8 hours of sleep a night. And these are things that are completely within my control, right? I can make sure that I show up at the gym X number of times a week. I can make sure that I go to bed a certain number of times a week. So another example, if we're talking about my YouTube channel, the outcome-based goal could be something like I want to reach 1,000 subscribers. And again, I'm not going to set a time here because that just leads to impatience, frustration, and me focusing on the wrong types of things. So for my YouTube channel, the process-oriented goals that are underneath getting 1,000 subscribers would be something like I want to consistently produce 1 to 2 videos a week for the next 100 weeks, because you know, that's something that's completely within my control. You know, I want to focus on getting 1% better with each video, just making sure that I have that incremental progress. And another important goal for me there is to actually just have fun and not burn out, because, you know, that's what happens with a lot of YouTubers. And the key to setting a good process-oriented goal is that it should be very specific. They should be measurable. So if I'm setting a goal like I want to show up at the gym 3 to 4 times a week, I can very easily measure how many times I actually go to the gym a week. They should be realistic. So So you don't want to set something that's way beyond what you think you can do. It's definitely better to start small. So if you're not used to going to the gym, you shouldn't set something like, I want to spend 4 hours at the gym every day, right? So start small, start realistic. And the last one is that you have to make sure that it's actually relevant to the outcome-based goal that you want. So for example, if your goal is to get a six-pack and you don't want to set goals that are completely irrelevant to that. For example, like reading 2 books a night, because that's not going to get you to getting a six-pack, unless the books are about fitness, but you get the point. Okay, so now I'm going to get into a specific example of a goal that I'm personally breaking down this year, and hopefully it'll help solidify some of these concepts. I'm going to do this using Notion, but you can just as well use anything like Excel or even just a plain sheet of paper. What I'm going to do is I'm going to write a page here that just says big goals, and I'm going to type in these are the more traditional outcome-based goals that we're used to. So my number one thing here would be something like climb V10. And then I'm gonna add another page here. And I'm just gonna have a table. Well, actually, before I do that, I'm gonna take this and I'm just gonna write down a couple process or system-based goals that'll help me achieve this larger V10 goal. So kind of the first step here is to try out and find a few V10s that are suitable, inspiring, motivating. So that's one step. And then once I found my kind of goal boulder, I'm just going to sort of break down the required, sorry, my typing is really bad. The required moves, what kind of skill sets I need, and I've sort of already identified one of the biggest weaknesses that I have, or one of the things that are going to prevent me from climbing V10 right now is definitely going to be my finger strength. So improving finger strength is going to be a big one here. And so these first two are sort of just things that I just do once and I'm over with, but something like improving finger strength is more of a goal that I can start to build some processes and some systems around. So for finger strength here, I've already identified a few things that I could potentially help me improve finger strength. So one of the things I'm planning to try out is Dave McLeod has this training protocol where he does max hangs every single day. It's a little bit intense, but I think I'm at the level where I can maybe tolerate that kind of training. So I'm gonna try out max hangs for every day for these things you really need about like 2 months to really see some effects. So I'm gonna try out for 2 months, and then I'm going to measure the progress against my target boulder. And another one of these process-oriented goals could be something like practicing trying really hard. So that's something that I've been working on, and it's something that I can actually measure also myself subjectively. So just because something is measurable, it doesn't mean it has to be like scientifically or numerically measurable. You can actually say at the end of the day subjectively whether you feel like you've reached that goal or not, and that's a form of measurement in itself. So for this goal, I'm also going to write practice trying hard every session. Once I try out the max hang, another thing is I want to be trying to do the campus board more. A lot of people improve their finger strength just purely on the campus board, and it's a very good training tool. I don't think I've been utilizing it quite enough, so after that I'm going to try out campus board. It's maybe a little too intense to do every day, so I'm going to do something like every other day or 2 months and measure progress. Okay, so once I have a few of these process-oriented goals, I can go and create a page, or if you're in a notebook or a piece of paper, you could also just create a page and create a few columns for it. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to create a date column. Don't quite need this tags. I'm going to create just create these checkbox columns for each of these process-oriented goals. I'm just going to create a a checkbox column for that. So for the max hangs, I'm just gonna come here and write max hangs. And I'll keep it at that for now. So, and then the other one was practice trying hard every session. That's going to be a checkbox. Okay. And then you sort of just start filling in these dates. But so, for example, if I'm starting today, I could start just kind of checking these off as I go. And the beauty of these types of process-oriented goals is that because you're constantly working on them as a process, as a system, and as something that you can measure, you're constantly going back and revisiting this every day. So A, the goal will be fresh in your mind, and B, it's very motivational to kind of see, like, as you're progressing, how much, you know, if you're checking these off and you have a streak of just like 10 days in a row, you get that immediate motivation, that immediate satisfaction at the end of the day when you've actually completed that, versus these huge goals that, you know, maybe you don't see progress for months, years at a time, and you kind of just forget about it. So another cool thing that you can do here in Notion is also, for each of these, you can kind of calculate the percentage that you've actually completed. So, you know, if you finish every single day, you can see that you're at 100% down here. So being able to check these things off actually just helps you motivate. And I think these types of goals actually are really the foundations of getting you to take steps every day and actually getting you towards your goals. So one analogy that I heard recently, which really kind of brought this together, was, you know, if you're in the middle of a basketball game and you have this goal and your goal is to just win the game, the entire game you're just going to be staring at the scoreboard. And staring at the scoreboard doesn't do anything for you, right? It's not going to help you win the game. It's not going to help you play better. But because that is your goal, that is the only thing you're focused on. If you change your goal to be something like, I want to make the best play possible in this very moment, a very process-oriented goal, then the score kind of just takes care of itself. So the best way to actually reach your outcome-oriented goal is to have these process-oriented ones that support a system and a process to help you reach them. So one thing when you're just starting out is you don't want to create too many of these, because the more, like, if you're not used to having these daily habits, if you're not used to setting goals and having something you check off each day, it can be very demotivating when you start to see a lot of like missed empty boxes. Well, so another nice thing here is that, like, if you do miss a couple, you never really completely fail a goal. You kind of you can kind of see, you know, you're still making progress towards the goal, but you're not completely missing the goal. But anyway, so when you're just starting out, maybe just have one or two of these so that you can kind of get into the rhythm. And as you're able to build more and more of a habit, you can start increasing the number of these. And that should kind of give you a more progressive approach to being able to set and actually realize these goals. So, all right, hopefully this was helpful, and I hope some of this inspires and encourages you to set some of your own goals. If you do, I would love to hear some of these goals that you come up with down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. I have a ton of cool videos planned for the year, so you don't want to miss that. And with that, I hope you have an awesome day, and I'll see you in the next video.